Hi, I'm Victoria Gregg, and I'm doing a piece here for the Photographer Academy. I'm going to show you some information and teach you some stuff on video, but not just scary video, about fusion, about mixing stills with video together and how it's really possible for anyone to do this. We're going to start off with literally the kit bags that I have. Over the last 3 years filming and photographing, I used to have everything in one bag or two bags, and I would reach in my bag for something for photography or video and I couldn't find it. So now I keep things very separately, and I wanted to show you this just as a heads up when you finally get hooked into the video world. I'm using a Think Tank Airport International version 2, and it's honestly the best camera bag I have ever bought. I went through about 5-6 different camera bags, and I'm sure we all do in between transitioning from semi-pro to pro. The back of this bag is very disgusting because it's had a lot of journeys on a plane. But for me, this is my hand luggage. This is what I can take onto any plane, international, also in Europe. It's the perfect dimensions and sizes, even with the cut down sizes they've just brought into place. It does weigh a ton, but if you're going to travel, say EasyJet, you can definitely take this on as hand luggage. So this is my camera bag, and if I open this up, I will talk about what I have in here. So I have, really what I've got here is I've taken my flash guns out of here, but normally I would have a flash gun, a power pack. I have 2 DSLRs, a range of lenses, and some small video cameras, which I will explain to you what those are a bit later. So here I know I've got lenses, cameras in one bag. In this bag, this is a petrol bag. This is actually a broadcast video world name of a brand. You've probably never heard of petrol bags. But for me, these bags are made for video, made for deeper cameras, lots of other equipment like audio equipment. This is my go-to audio bag. And in here you'll see, and I'll go through bit by bit what I've got in here. I've got microphones, I've got viewfinders. This is almost my video bag to go to. You're going to have a lot less kit when you start, and you should be able to fit it into your current bag. But once you start progressing, getting more and more kit, it's really nice to have separate bags for everything. Then the last bag that I have is my Manfrotto bag. And this then holds my monopod, my tripod, any stabilization equipment that I'm going to use, and we'll also do a whole segment on stabilization and how to stabilize this camera for filming video. Now we're going to go through cameras and the camera setups that I use for fusion video shooting. I've got 2 5D Mark IIs or Mark IIIs that I'll use to shoot photos and video. What you'll see here is one has a strap on, one doesn't. As a stills photographer, I would always have 2 straps. I shoot with 2 across each shoulder, but when it comes to filming, this slows me down. So although I've got what's called a quick release plate on here, we have these as photographers, but this is a different shape size one that fits a video head. I need to be able to what's called rapid shoot. So I need to be able to clip in and clip out of a tripod, a monopod, something that's called a slider, a glide cam, whatever the equipment I'm using, I need to be able to get into it and out of it within seconds. And doing so, I have this camera without a strap, because then for me, it's easier. If you can imagine, wherever I want to put this camera, however I'm filming, shooting, the strap is not getting in the way of a slider shot and it's hanging. But I do keep one on here for my stills photos, and then I shoot video with probably the other one. But it's not to say that I don't flip with the same camera. So getting the quick release plates is the most important thing, because you need to make sure that you commit to a stabilization brand. So whoever your tripod or monopod is, you need to make sure that it's the same person, because you can't be screwing and unscrewing these plates bit by bit. It's going to take you too much time. Talking of which, I'm using the Canon 70-200 2.8 IS. It's had a bit of its day, as I said to Mark. This was the original camera lens that I bought as a banker, and as you can see, it's been taped up. It's earned its money definitely for me. But I've never used this part of it because it was always too heavy, and I was being a bit of a girl, and I just wanted a lighter weight on my arm or my back. However, in video, I'm going to show you when we get to the stabilization segment how this is just, you can't replace it. You need it on here. And it just makes sense. It means we can get our horizons very quickly. So I keep it on, I'll shoot stills. A lot of photographers do say to me, does this not affect my stills? But I work around it. Kind of, I can still get my hand in there to do the focus, backwards and forwards, it's not a problem. Let's start with lenses. I get a lot of questions about what's the best lens to use for film, for photography, for fusion, using both. I can shoot a wedding on a 70-200 and a 24-105, so I'll shoot fusion on those. My most favorite lens to focus on is got to be the 70-200. The lens for if I'm a little bit shaky has got to be this 24-105, and the reason why is the image stabilization. You've got image stabilizers on both of these lenses. I know that the 24-105 is only an f4, but I'd rather have a stabilized shot than more light into my camera, because I can actually work with my shutter speed being lower and I get the same stop difference that I'm missing from photography. Other lenses I love to use are the 100mm macro. Unfortunately, I only got the one without the IS, and I really miss the IS. So if you're looking to purchase one and you do have the budget, the IS is well worth it. And the new Canon 100 has actually been made for video, so it's definitely better than this. However, all of my films that you see, I'm using this. So it's just proving that you don't need to spend top money. You just use the kit you've got creatively. By now, you're probably wondering, why do I have these little stickers everywhere? As I grew and grew in cinematography and have up to 25 crew on some shoots, guess what? We all have the same lens cap. We all have the same cameras. So marking your equipment when you start to grow past fusion is a really good thing, even down to kind of end caps on lenses. And you can take these off whenever you want. The other lens probably that I have in my kit bag for film is the 16-35. This lens is a really cool lens to use for portrait photographers shooting kids. This has got an infinity focus and a big hyperfocus depth on it that I can actually not worry about manually focusing the lens to keep something in focus. And it's a wide, safe shot. A moving shot makes it easy. So the thing to think about is lenses with USM focusing, so something that has a smooth focusing ring. Right now, as photographers, we only use this, which is to zoom in, zoom out. We'll be using the focus ring for the first time actually shooting video. I do have with me one that is not a USM, which is the 50mm 1.8, and you'll be able to hear this. It sounds mechanical. It is mechanical. I can shoot great stills with this, but I would rather shoot video with the 50mm with a USM. So that's just to know, so each one of your lenses, whether you're Nikon as well, you'll have certain lenses with VR that make it more stabilized, and it will also feel smoother with the focus rings. So pick the lenses that you're happy with focusing with. A lot of people say, should we shoot primes or zooms? Again, for fusion, I have to focus on photos first. Photos rule, and fusion is the additional bit, the video part of this. So if this is what I shoot my stills on, I have to make this work with my video. So don't go out and buy more lenses. The lenses that you have in your kit bag already, you can use. So the next thing we probably want to look at is memory cards and batteries. Firstly, batteries. I can shoot a whole wedding on 2 Canon DSLR batteries. I probably get an hour's worth of footage on this. So for fusion, you haven't got too many of issues, but you do want to get some either on charge as soon as you've run out of them, or invest in another couple of batteries. The last thing you want is to run out of battery power on a shoot just because you're flipping between stills and video. I use a Think Tank pocket rocket. For years, I tried different versions, but these, honestly, I would say, same as the bag, these guys are genius at designing this. They really work. It has a space for my business cards. So whenever I'm asked for a business card, I have them on here. Lots of spaces to put memory cards in. On video, I will use 32 gig cards. For photo, I'll shoot 8 gig cards. When I'm shooting fusion, I will use 32 gigs. And I number the back of them in sequential order. And what I normally do is, if in this I can see the numbers. It means they're not recorded on. As soon as I've recorded on something, it then goes like this. So you'll have your own method of madness of opening up and knowing what memory card is full and not. But for me, when I have 5 people shooting with me, each person gets one of these. They'll get different numbers or different color codes. So at the end of the day, when I back up their footage, so if you're going to outsource the video, you need to know who shot what, especially if you're wrecking footage and working with them and training with them. These as well are secure, safe, and you can clip these onto your pocket. I have also a think tank belt that I put information in, a lens. This goes with me wherever I go. This is my life. So obviously I take my memory cards really serious. The SanDisk cards for me are the best cards out there, or Lexar. I've only had one issue before and I've got the information off them. Just be careful with your cards. For video, I know you need faster speed, but don't use cheap cards, because what will happen is you'll lose information. It won't actually be able to write. It's not solid. If you drop it on the floor, it doesn't work. So invest in good memory cards like you would in photography. Some other cameras that I also use for video, and you've probably heard of them, they're called the GoPros. They are very inexpensive cameras. They're very diddy, as you can see. This is the GoPro Hero 2, and this is the newest GoPro Hero 3. Every time GoPro bring out a newer version of these, it's almost 100 times better. So again, I get asked, is it worth me buying a second-hand one of these or the newer one? I would always go for the newer one. The quality is incredible. I cut this with the 5D Mark II and Mark III quality. The pros of having something like this, maybe for a fusion shoot, is that you could maybe put this at the back of the church and get a wide shot to cut to. You can get some fun stuff by putting this onto car bonnets and getting adapters. Even with kids, you've got things like you can have a harness and you can put it on them so you can see their view running. There's lots of fun things you can do with one of these. And it's almost, if you don't have another camera when you start wanting to do full films, this could be your second camera for an angle to cut to. But they're a great investment and great fun. You can have cool stuff with these. We even use these on big commercial shoots for things like right near ovens, on tops of trays, as someone's bringing out drinks. There's really cool stuff that we can do with this and get creative shots with. So we're going to talk about stabilization, and unlike photography, we can just shoot stills and move wherever we want with our camera. If I was to switch this on and shoot video now and try and hold it, I'm going to get a wobble, and it just looks really unprofessional. I'm a real stickler for this, but I should actually say this caveat now, that everyone has their own way of shooting and their own way for their type and style of film that works or doesn't work for them. And what I would say for me is I will handheld a shot when I want it to look shaky and scary, or in the fusion shoot I recently did was a bumper car. So I sat in the bumper car and handheld it because it looked like it was shaking and it was bumpy, and that was the idea of it. But if I want something cinematic and beautiful, or steady, I don't want to be watching the content and the emotion and then go like a car wash all over the place. The problem with the DSLRs is that we have no image stabilization in the camera. All of the other video cameras out there have image stabilization, so you can hold. You probably remember seeing all the video cameras, especially as a wedding photographer, that will have them on the shoulder. So it's stabilized on the shoulder, but they can walk and move around and it's fine. You cannot do this on a DSLR. It's one of the downsides of it. The plus sides of the DSLR is the look. And this is why videographers are buying these cameras, because this is a very cheap camera for them to get a beautiful 200 grand's worth of look in camera, amongst the issues with audio and stabilization. So how do we stabilize? You can with a strap if you have to handhold, and I would say if you're into a vintage style look where it can be shaky and a bit movie, then literally pull away as hard as you can and really stretch out and create that almost like the pressure between the camera and you, and do that. If you don't have a camera strap like I do and you have to handhold, then you're just going to try and breathe in and keep it for a few seconds and keep it really, really steady. This is why I love a monopod. I bought a monopod when I was a photographer because I thought this lens, when I first had it, was too heavy for me. And then I grew some muscles and then I didn't need it anymore. I tried to make my old monopod work for video and I couldn't. I definitely need what's called like a flat foot here. The monopod that I used, and I'm not saying this is the best one to use, is a 685B Manfrotto. The pros that I like about this is the pistol grip. Particularly if I'm going to shoot kids and things, I can get down really quickly, I can come up really quickly. I don't have to clip the whole time. The problem with this monopod is I hate the foot. This thing comes off all the time and drives me crazy because then I can't really use it and I have to buy several of them in case I lose them. There is a better Manfrotto video tripod out there, which is the 561 BHDV. However, right today, I know they've just discontinued that. So you want to find the new version. I don't know the model off the top of my head. I will get it for you guys and give you a kit list, a PDF to download. Unfortunately, what they've done now is they've stopped you from taking the head off. So this monopod, I can take the head off. The new versions, they're not letting you do that, which is a bit of a shame because I used to be able to have this and this one here, take this off and put it on my slider when I don't have a need for a monopod and vice versa. But it's still a fairly, if there's one piece of kit you should really buy out of anything, it's one of these. Because for me, this will get you steady footage because it has what's called a video fluid head on it. So the whole point of a video head, and I did try and use my photography head, but it won't work, is I've got a pressure system in here. I've got a fluid system that I can, what's called tilt, and then I can pan left to right. Let me loosen this a little bit. So I can pan left. Very, very fluid movements. And you'll see here, that the looser I have this, the quicker I can pan and tilt. And then if I tighten this up, it will lock it. The point that I was mentioning earlier was about being able to clip in and lock and then clip out very quickly. So I can take my stills, I can clip in and start shooting video. I'm going to show you after this tutorial how to actually use one of these so you can actually take steady footage. The thing that I did keep from my photography world are my photography tripod legs. They're not the best, but they work. So I'm still using them and it's easy for me to fly. However, I have changed the head again to exactly the same head as on the monopod, a 701 HDV Manfrotto head. Again, there's better heads out there, heavier, more fluid, but for the DSLR market, for fusion and even cinematography that we're doing, this is fine. There's nothing wrong with this. They're not expensive. They're great. They will even take a 7200. Again, it's fluid, and the movement you need in video is fluid movements, not short staccato movements. So you're able to recondition your tripod legs just by a video head. But even if you didn't want to do this and invest in this, just invest in a monopod and literally bring it on the photography shoots. And when you want to shoot video, clip in, have something solid to film, clip it out, and then I just literally throw this on the floor. Second, if you do want to up a level, then buy another head for your tripod legs. And I'll show you in other tutorials how literally with a tripod and a video head, I can have a camera rolling and I'm not even behind it and I can take my stills. So there's shots, and I will give you guys these videos that I took of Verity and Dominic on a fusion shoot. I was not in the church behind the camera while I was filming him and he happened to turn and look right and wink. I was outside photographing the bride as she was entering. So there's some tricks that you can do if you want to really up your fusion pieces by having another video tripod, like video head on a photography tripod and shoot with two cameras.